Welcome to Real Coaching Radio, the podcast for coaches by coaches. We are here to teach you how to get the most out of your clients and yourself. This is where beauty meets the beast, brains meet brawn, and science meets, well, bro science. Welcome to Real Coaching Radio. Welcome to this episode of Real Coaching Radio. My name's Charlie. It's just me today. Unfortunately, no Mark. We've got my sister in, and she's basically talking about breast implants. She had them put in, she had them removed again, all because of how it affected her body. Like, her body basically started to reject these implants. It's a really good conversation. We talk around self-esteem. We talk about basically how we perceive ourselves and how others look at us, and just talk about the society that we live in today. And without any further ado, I'll just let you guys kind of get on with the episode. It's a really good conversation. Please let us know if there's anything else you want us to talk around like this. If you want any more information, please let us know. But without any further ado, let's begin the episode. I think the best place for us to start is to give some history on you training wise, and why you got into training, what kind of exercise you did when you first started, what you were doing it for, and things like that.
Yeah.
So is there a main way when you when did you start training and why did you start training?
So I was always a really active kid. Always, played a lot of sport, was out all the time as a child. And then I think when I turned about 12, went to secondary school, we moved out into the countryside where there was nowhere. It was roads, so I couldn't play out all the time, and I kind of lost my fitness. I discovered the computer, played video games a lot.
Was that in school?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And I did PE, but I never really cared much for it. And then when I went to university, I joined netball.
Did you not play netball in school? When you do it like PE lessons, I guess.
Yeah, maybe, but I didn't really care much for it, you know. And then when I went to university, I joined the netball society, which I played for a couple of years, and then my netball coach died, so I just kind of didn't want to continue once she had passed. That's
I know I shouldn't laugh, but that's such a funny reason. You wouldn't normally say, I fell out of love with it, but that's such a tragic reason to actually stop.
It just wasn't the same once she was gone.
Yeah. Did you build a community then of with her and all the teammates?
Yeah, it was
lovely.
She was amazing, and also things got in the way with university, partying and eating a lot of crap, and I was probably at my worst shape ever when I was at university. I didn't realise it at the time.
How old were you then?
So I'd have been 22, 23, probably size 14, 16.
Okay.
Almost 12 stone maybe, and not doing anything physical, and not even thinking about potentially. I think I had gym membership, maybe went once, and that was it, and there was no drive to do it. Did
you even think I should probably go to the gym or anything like that?
No, it wasn't. Nothing. Which is so weird for me to think now, because if I don't go once in a week, I'm I am a terrible person.
Yeah.
Or not even feel guilty for not going, but more I feel rubbish for not going, because it's something I enjoy. I would say it's a proper hobby now. So anyway, so that was that. And then when I left university, it was probably about 2017 that I decided I wanted to join the police. Okay. And I'd been given information that I had to run a bleep test to get into the police. 5'4", which is absolutely nothing. It's a 2-minute jog.
Bleep test is still the worst. I still think it's one of the worst things you can ever do. So how is it? 20 levels? I have no
whatever it is. To become a police officer, you really don't need to do much.
I'm pretty sure it's 20 levels, and what did you say? 5.4 you had to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that isn't a lot. To put it into perspective, obviously 5 out of 20. But when you look at one of the old New Zealand rugby players, Richie McCall, could complete the bleep test.
Right.
So I've done the bleep test. I'm dreadful at it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are. It's not easy, but so that was your main drive to think like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I need to get myself into gear.
Right. So I didn't know what 5-4 meant. I just heard bleep test and panicked. So I started training.
Okay.
I ran 10K in preparation, and then turned up on the day and found out it was like a 2-minute run, like jog. And I was like, oh,
better
right.
to be over prepared though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know. So, but actually so the problem was I was at that stage where, and I'm sure that if you've ever been overweight or unfit, you felt it, where you don't want to go into a gym because you're embarrassed. You worry that people are going to look at you and be like, oh, look at the fat girl, or look at the, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I wouldn't want to go out running on the road because I don't want to get like beeped at and stuff. So I was really privileged that at my family home, we had a running machine. So I was able to just shut myself away day in, day out. And at first...
I remember when you were doing that and you were like running like 5Ks and like stuff like that to start with.
Well, to start with, I ran 2K at like, I don't know, 10 kilometers an hour, which is nothing. And I was blowing out my ass. Yeah. And then within 3 or 4 weeks, I was able to run 10K just constantly doing it. I mean, I hate running. Yeah. I want to put it out there. I hate running, but it's what started that. And then I developed an interest because my body started changing, and I was getting that post-workout glow that is, addictive. And I started following different accounts on Instagram and thinking, oh, how could I work out different parts of my body? And so and then I started going to classes, just doing like, I don't know,
Les Mills type classes.
Like body pump, body attack, even yoga, like just different things. So that, because I still wasn't brave enough to go into the gym and the testosterone.
I think that's what group classes are brilliant for. Like, 'cause a lot of people don't like group classes, and like if you sit there and go, oh, this is the best thing for people, like to have one-on-one personal training or to go and do weights. In my mind, I'm just like, right, but that's a really scary environment.
Yeah, definitely. When you don't know it, when you don't really know what you're doing, and you're conscious that everyone's going to probably look at you and think they don't know what they're doing.
Everyone thinks that though. Like,
I know.
I think. So, would you say like that's one of the biggest reasons why you were like, I don't want to go in there? It's just a fear of being embarrassed.
Yeah, which now looking back is ridiculous, because nobody in the gym is looking at other people. Everyone is just there for their own fitness.
And like, and this is the kind of the funny thing that I always say is like, if you think people are staring at you, like they think you're staring at them.
Yeah.
So like, no one has a fucking clue what they're doing, and everyone just kind of goes in and goes like, hopefully no one's gonna stare.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get the fear, and that's why I think like starting off on Les Mills classes, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, definitely. That gave me a bit of confidence, a bit of group mentality, and I was enjoying it, because I think, we all know that the important thing about exercise is that you have to enjoy it. Doesn't matter whether you're running, lifting weights, rowing, doing a yoga class, as long as if you don't enjoy it, you ain't going to go back. So I was enjoying that at the time, and then I got more into the weight side of things as I got more confident. And
so are you losing weight at this point? Like, you starting to see your body change?
Yeah,
you're losing some weight, and it starts off by like going running and things like that.
Yeah, so I would say that the running changed my body. I mean, I used to take photos as well, just of my face, not even of my body, because this is the other thing, like, because I'd never liked any of my body, I'd never really looked at it. Ever. So I was only taking photos of like my face just to see how red and knackered I looked, and I slowly started to see the change in my face, let alone my body.
When you say change, like, do you feel like, how did you what type of change are you talking about? Because I feel like when there's a difference between someone who works out who is overweight and someone who is overweight and doesn't do anything. Because like when you see someone who's overweight and doesn't do anything, a lot of times they look swelled up. Yeah. It looks painful.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
So I would say that not only did I start to slim down, but I probably also looked healthier. Yeah. Because it wasn't just the exercise. It was because it all comes at once, right? And I used to hate it, because I was the type of person who would go on Instagram and I'd be looking for the answer. To what have you done to lose all that weight? And I would get really frustrated when the post would say, it's a lifestyle change. And I'd be like, don't give me this bloody lifestyle change. What's the secret? And I know it's stupid, and And I'm that person that's like, yeah, it's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah, but I think people think that there's a magic pill because they all know Sally down the gym who's lost a ton of weight in like 3 weeks or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but Sally's crazy disciplined, and Sally's actually got a real big problem that she needs to deal with. So like the fact that she can turn this switch to lose all that weight, like Sally's gonna gain that back again.
Yeah.
And I think like my biggest, like by the way, I have no idea. I use Sally all the time. I don't know a Sally, so if you're a Sally, this isn't you, promise. But like we all look at those people who like, when I started to train, for example, and I was like a kid when I started to train. So like I was like 11 stone wet when I was like first started to train. And the reason I started to train was because my shoulder kept dislocating in rugby. So I was like, right, I've got to like get a bit bigger and like put some size on just to protect myself. So when I started training and putting on a bit of size, the first thing people go is like, that's steroids. Because everyone goes, that's the magic key. And it's like, steroids will do a lot for you. But if you've got a shit training plan, if you've got shit nutrition, if you're still going out on the piss on the weekend, like, and you're thinking that the steroids are going to make up for that, like, that's where every gym rat goes wrong. Yeah. And I think that's the thing with like the general public nowadays is like, you have people that look on Instagram and see someone who is on steroids and says like, what's the magic pill? It's definitely not steroids. And are just completely blind to it and want to know if it's BCAAs or it's like, oh, if I take creatine, like that's basically steroids, right? And it's like, whoa. Let's look at the big rock stuff here. And I think that was the same thing with you, is like when you say lifestyle change, like when we say lifestyle change, I'm not talking about you have to go to the gym 7 days a week now and completely change your life. Like you have to just go, I'm going to get up and go for a walk, or I'm going to do a 2K run once every 3 days. And you just make small little changes.
Complete. I mean, and this has been a long, and this is 4 years down the line for me now, right? So
since you started like running, since that
2017, when I was like, let's prep for that bleep test, and I would say that my lifestyle changed, and I started actually just integrating a little bit of fitness into my life. I wasn't like obsessed with it. I wasn't doing it obsessively. I wasn't starving myself. I mean, you know, over the years, I have tried creatine. I've tried fat loss pills or whatever they're called, the caffeine pills. I've tried all of the things, and none of them have been the answer. It's just been it's a gradual change in my life, and that has, when you start to get fit, you do start to care a little bit about your health. And so maybe you do start to think, oh, what am I putting in my body as well? It all comes in one, because before I just ignored all elements of it. Whereas you open the door a little bit to that side of life and fitness and well-being, and you can't help but learn more and more about all the different elements of changing your lifestyle. Yeah. So whether that be mindfulness and meditation, yoga, whether it be not eating processed foods or going for a long walk, it all comes at once, really. I
think that's the really important bit, is to learn that the thing you're after, like the biggest change I'm always trying to get with clients, is to understand that this is going to change your body, but there is something way more important here that's going to go on, and your mood, your coping mechanisms, your positive attitude is going to change, because a lot of times, like, it's far easier to ignore the problem, and I think that goes for every single situation. We've had a few conversations recently, like, about mental health on this podcast, and we've been saying about, like, it's a lot easier for someone who has mental health to blame other people or to just completely ignore it, rather than trying to deal with it. Because it's like you say, as soon as you open that can of worms, you're like, for fuck's sakes, like, I've now got to do this. And like, it seems daunting when you say it's a lifestyle change for people out there, because they think like, oh, I've got to completely change my life. But that's not true. Like, lifestyle change, like having fitness as a lifestyle doesn't mean that you love fitness. Putting your life and making it so that you're making better decisions in a positive manner to improve your health is only going to positively affect every aspect of your life. Yeah. And you do that by saying, I'm going to go on a 10-minute walk. Yeah. I'm going to decide that, like, to at least eat veg one time a day. Do you know what I mean? And like, it's those positive things that, like, imagine the snowball effect of all this. And I suppose, like, has that happened to you gradually? Like, you've just snowballed into this kind of, oh, I need this, or like, I really enjoy this. Does it help?
I would never say I need it. because I think then you get into a dangerous territory of obsession and your mental health depending on that lifestyle and on that fitness. And I've been really lucky that I've never been the type of person who feels the need to earn their calories, or if I don't go for a workout today, I'm going to lose all my gains. And I know some people who literally, if they don't go to the gym one day, or if they, eat too much food one day, their mental health really suffers. Yeah. And I'm really lucky that I've never been that way. And I think it's because for me, this whole thing is not worth doing unless I enjoy doing it. I enjoy learning about different foods that I can eat that are healthier, and I enjoy the different workouts I can do. I know it seems kind of narcissistic, but I enjoy watching my muscles grow and move.
This is like the thing that really bugs me, is that because people think that everyone in fitness is like all self-centered and really like self-focused and stuff like this. And it's just, for me, I'm just like, how can you not see that like, that there is something which is going to improve your life? And everyone, I don't care who you are, unless you're an athlete, professional athlete, goes to the gym to look better. And if you and
feel better.
But that's one of the byproducts of it. That's a side effect. Like the side effect of going to the gym, like ultimately we make the decision to go to the gym originally because we don't like something about us. We've got to get fitter, but ultimately we know people think, oh, if I go work out, I'll look better. So that's the like main driver. The biggest win that you'll ever get is when you start to link it to other things. Yeah. You start to link it to like, when I go to the police, I do this bleep test, because I've ran that 10K, it's going to be so much easier. So your life's easier. When I go out to the gym or when I go out in public, I feel more confident because like I know that I don't have to worry about eating that food because I've had a really good workout that day. And like that's the balance of like, no, it's not a complete lifestyle change and you live in a gym. It's I can enjoy the rest of my life far much better because I do all of these things.
Yeah, and I found the addiction to the post-workout glow, the feeling of, oh wow, I'm proud of myself. I've got through that today. It was hard and I pushed through it. Like that was, to me, way more addictive than my physical changes. Like obviously,
it really is.
I became happier with the way I looked. But I wouldn't say I was unhappy with the way I looked before. I just didn't pay it any attention, I guess.
Have you ever like obsessed about the way you look?
Not really, only facial features, because I was picked on as a kid for like my nose, for instance. Yeah. But when it came to my body,
didn't really think of it.
No, not really. No. I just ignored it. It wasn't. I just never paid it any attention.
When you started to pay attention to it, did things really start to bother you then?
Yes, yeah. So it was only when I started fitness and I started realizing, oh, I can, that's what my legs look like, and they're becoming shapely like this, or I'm flattening my abs, or my waist is becoming smaller, or my arms are becoming toned, and you start to look at each part of your body in a completely different way, and yeah, definitely in an aesthetic-minded way. Yeah. So then I started looking at, oh, actually, my body's starting to look good. Like, I like how this looks. I don't like how that looks.
But that's confidence, though, as well. Yeah. Like, because I think the real issue that people get is like, and I think this is purely out of their own denial about training, is that people that don't train, or people that, like, what you'll find for a lot of people who, I had a client once, and basically he would always go out on the piss, and he was known for going out on the piss. He's a big guy. Anyway, he lost a ton of weight and was going to the gym. And some of his friends were like taking the piss. Oh, why are you doing that? Like, and start to kind of basically challenge him about like, this person's now changing his life. But they weren't. Yeah. So it's their own insecurity. So like a lot of times when people are like, oh, that's so like people are so self-obsessed who go to the gym and things like that. And it's like, right, but why? Like, I think the only reason they say that, they're too afraid to do it themselves. They're too afraid to open that can of worms and go, for fuck's sakes, I've got a problem here. Yeah. Because it's far easier to like, and that's why a lot of people are going to like concern themselves with your problems, because like it's a lot easier to change the world than it is to change yourself, or so everyone thinks.
I mean, I'm strongly of the opinion that everyone can improve themselves or feel better if they incorporate exercise into their life. I totally am. However, I'm not going to force it down people's throats. People have to find it themselves. Completely. And I don't judge people if they don't, because I was that person.
Right.
And I discovered it at the time that I was meant to discover it, you know?
How much in the change, has there been a change mentally from you when you've started to work out? Like, has it affected you positively, do you think?
Yeah, apart from in lockdown when you couldn't do what you wanted to do, and then obviously
I think we all
you struggle, but I mean, you do what you can, don't you? Or you give up completely. But yeah, completely. You just feel more alert because of the endorphins, I guess. You feel more driven. You feel that you have more energy.
Why do you
sleep
think you
better.
feel more driven?
I guess because every day you are having a little success, and so you're constantly now looking for. If you stop working out, where are you getting them successes from?
And this is where the idea of hack the body, hack the mind came from. Was the fact that you have to, the little wins you get every day, the little goals you set yourself.
So important.
Like, I was chatting to a guy, one of my clients, and basically he was telling me, like, he just wants to be loaded. He wants to be rich. He wants to have a giant house. Mm-hmm. And I was chatting to him and I was asking him why. And he said, like, because I can turn around to like all the kids in school and was like, you don't have that. It's quite like a nasty way to think, right? Thinking like they can't afford that. Like, look what I've got. And it's almost like, and when I was chatting to him, I said, like, the fact you're really driven money-wise can be a really positive thing, because obviously you can be really successful that way. But what you fail to realize is you're gonna get to those places. You're gonna buy that car. You're gonna get that house, and you're probably not going to be satisfied because you're doing it for other people. Whereas if you decide to change your mindset and go, I want to be rich. I want to have a really big house so I can sit around my dinner table with my family and have a big turkey, and we can spend a really good Christmas together. Yeah. You change it from being something for someone else to being something for yourself. Yeah. And you start like looking at this situation as like, okay, so if I go and do, if I'm earning all this money, like I thought I was doing it to spite other people, but I'm actually doing it for this thing. Or
if he was doing it because he wanted to be, you know, the top of his game in his business.
Right.
And that's fair enough, because that's a personal goal.
Personal goal.
I want to be better than that guy kind
of
thing.
The reason I'm saying that is because the higher purpose there is to have this house so he can enjoy it with his family. That's the biggest goal, right? Mm-hmm. Which means that everything he does up to that point gives him purpose. Yeah. That's his biggest goal. Yeah. And coming to the gym and training will make sure that he's fit. So when his kids want to run around with him and play football, they can do that because he's fit and healthy. So it means that everything that he does, earning money, is going to a higher purpose. And I think that's the reason that the gym is so positive, because then every single day, you know, you're working towards that higher purpose. Yeah. You're working towards that higher goal.
And I also think, though, that, you know, over the course of your fitness life or whatever, your goal can change. So, for instance, obviously, 100%. At first, my goal...
It's healthy if it does.
Yeah, my goal was to get a career, to get into the police.
Exactly,
that was my initial goal. And then it became aesthetic, and then it became feel good. And now it's about being healthy. Right. More than anything else, because I'm happy with where I am aesthetically, maybe that's not a consideration much anymore. And also, you know, I've been heavier than this. I'm really happy. So for me, the ultimate goal is happiness. Right. Obviously.
So one of the main reasons, obviously, we got you on today was because you had an operation not too long ago. Yeah. You had a couple of operations in the past couple of years. So I want you to talk me through, when you started to lose weight, like, did this start to change your body, and did you start to have different thoughts and feelings about your body? Some positive, some negative.
Yeah. You know, as a bigger girl, I was curvier. Yeah. And then when I lost the weight, my chest disappeared completely. Everything. I'd gone from being a double D breasts to, you know, flat B, A.
Because that's the running joke is like, it doesn't count if you're a skinny guy with abs or a fat chick with boobs, and that's the running joke. And it's like everyone who like is at either ends of those spectrums knows that feeling, and it's just like, and it is the running joke.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I was the fat chick, but I was bigger, and therefore I had boobs. Right. So then when I lost the weight, it just obliterated. They went completely. And I've always been...
Did you lose much weight? Like,
I would say I lost probably 2 stone.
Okay.
I've always been bottom heavy. I've got big glutes, big thighs. So I felt a bit out of proportion. And then that coupled with a couple of bad relationships maybe, and the way I was made to feel in them, my insecurities just sprang right up. And then also, I'm not going to discount the negative effect of social media. I mean, obviously we know that social media can be great and it can also be really negative. And I would say that around that time, Instagram was growing massively. And on there was a lot of Insta girls who had the perfect bodies, who were in proportion, who had lovely chests, lovely slim waist, big ass. And I, unfortunately, as many girls are, was influenced by it. And it allowed me to start thinking negatively about my own body, even though I was in good shape because I'd lost that weight.
Yeah.
And it was about control as well. You know, I can grow my glutes, I can make my abs as flat as I want, but I can't grow my boobs.
So having, obviously your thoughts then was like, well, I'll get breast implant.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like a funny question. Probably you weren't expecting it. How come, because you said before you were picked on about your nose in school.
Yeah.
How come you went boobs rather than nose? Because girls like all the time, like Jess, for example, she wants like some eye filler or something, right? I don't know. I have no
Like an
idea.
eye lift or something?
No, like to get rid of like bags under your eyes.
Oh, okay.
So she wants that, and like because everyone's got something, right?
Yeah,
but like, did the boobs take over? Did you think? And like this is, don't let me like influence what you're going to say and just carry on. But from my thought, like if Instagram wasn't a thing, the nose thing would probably be more of a problem
yeah,
than the
definitely,
boobs.
Because I still have an issue with my nose. You can't not if you've been bullied about something. I think nose was higher risk because if you get your nose done and they botch it, it's there, right? And so many people were getting implants. You know, you would be surprised actually at how many people have got implants. You probably know at least 10 girls and you don't even know it who've got implants. It's an epidemic basically, and so it seemed really common. So I thought, if so many people are getting it, it must be quite simple, quite easy. And I think as well, it was the I really feel ashamed to say it, but the partner that I was with made a big fuss about liking boobs, and I was very, very aware that I didn't have them, and I think that unfortunately swayed me into, I mean, now I'm like, oh, I wish I got the nose, but I'm not. But yeah, so I that's why I went for the breast implants rather than a nose.
I think if you're listening as a male, you need to kind of we have conversations about this with quite a few people. Influencers on Instagram are everywhere. There are literally half naked girls on people's feeds constantly, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you're a guy and you've got a girlfriend and you're kind of, I think people forget how much of an influence this is having on them.
Yeah,
right?
completely.
So I used to follow like tons and tons of girls. Literally, like I used to follow so many. And it was like, for me, it was like, I like big asses. So that's all I'm following, right? So I've got like Insta butts everywhere, all over my feed. And like I'm going down and I'm looking at them and I'm liking photos. Like these people, like to me, and this is the conversation I've had with a lot of guys, is like, you don't see them as real people. No. Like they don't like, and like for people who kind of, they're in the same category as porn stars, right? They're not even human in that sense. Like you
it's
are
just an aesthetic.
It's just an aesthetic. You are so worlds apart that like there is, you don't look at that and think like, cool, if I like this photo, she's going to like one back. Like, I don't think it's anything like that. But you got to understand, like, subconsciously the impact this has on you. Because for me, for example, like, I definitely was getting influenced by that in the sense of, like, how I'd look at my partner. So the partner I was with at the time, I was like, but you're not like that. I want you to be like that.
Yeah.
And, like...
And even if you weren't to directly say to her, you need to grow your glutes, she's gonna maybe see that you've liked a picture like that and think, oh, he likes that, I don't look like that.
Right.
What do I need to do? And it's the same thing of, you tell a girl 20 times she looks good in a dress, but she won't believe it. But you tell her once on an offhanded drunk comment that those trousers look a bit funny, she'll never wear them again. And it is really, really impactful. And unfortunately, the world that we live in, a girl's value is almost equated with how pretty they are. It's a currency, and it's really, really unfortunate. And I've read a lot of literature recently, and I try and now surround if I'm going to keep on social media, I follow a wide range of people with all different shapes and bodies, because I want to be more in control of the images and the normal of what goes into my brain, so that the subconscious doesn't make me think I look like shit.
Yeah, and and for those who think like it's just a photo on Instagram, like I really do get that. It is just a photo on Instagram, but at the same time, like always, whenever there's a situation, I always think like, what is the outcome I'm looking for here? And if the outcome you're looking for is to piss your girlfriend off, to make her really insecure, continue liking photos. But if it's to make your partner, who maybe you're potentially going to be with for the rest of your life, feel secure and feel like they don't need to do anything. Like, don't get me wrong, like if your partner puts on a ton of weight and they're being really unhealthy, you can have that conversation. But you need to be a really good communicator. Also,
what I would like to say there is, there's nothing wrong with liking a girl who's got a big butt. But think about the girl in the photo. Why does she feel the need to post that? You know, I follow a few fitness accounts, and I follow some girl fitness accounts who have said on their stories, I'm posting photos of me with my glutes out because the reach that photo gets
massive.
Is 10 times as much as if I don't have my glutes on show.
This is why I think like, I've said before, the Instagram influencer thing's going to fucking drop.
I hope it does.
And
I think it's harmful.
The reason it is because companies are paying for views at the moment, right? Yeah. So sells, like any of these girls who basically, you'll see like lounge underwear ad or whatever, right? You'll see all of these. They get paid for views. Those views are 9 times out of 10 blokes just looking at that, right? Yeah. And I could bet your ass now that that bloke's not sitting there going, my girlfriend would look great in that underwear set, and they're going to go buy it. Doubtfully that's going to happen. Like, I really doubt it. Unless themselves want to wear that underwear set, and I know a few people who would do that, then like they're not likely to buy it. It's going to change because I think turnover rate is going to be the bigger thing, right? And you're going to actually have to prove like, yeah, but what can you like turn over in revenue for us? How many of these people are actually going to buy stuff from you? And this is why I think the influencer trap's going to fucking fall, because people don't realize that you're not, like, the ads that they're selling, they're not fucking selling. Half of their followers are fake. Half of the likes are fake. Yeah. So like, that's why when you look at an account with all of these followers, with all of these photoshopped images, and think like, oh, like, that's me, I should be like that. Like,
well, also, I find it very odd because so I'm somebody who would probably be in the market for female gym wear, and you know, I look at what females do in the gym because I relate to them, but I don't get them spamming my Instagram. Whereas, you know, I spoke to 4 different boys recently, and they all said, isn't it weird, whenever we go on Instagram, all of the things that are coming up are women in scantily clothed, like scantily worn, like gym wear, and it's like, why do we keep getting this? And like you said, they ain't going to be buying their product. No, they're just going to be looking at those pictures. But yeah, so just going back to that point, I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, having a type or liking a girl with a big butt. But think about, before you press like, okay, yeah, what impact could that have on your girlfriend or girls in your life? And secondly, why is the girl in the photo posting that? You know, that's the problem, I think.
9 times out of 10, like, Instagram is like a shop window for your best attributes, basically. Your Instagram can be used in whatever it was. It used to be used for fucking pictures of food, for God's sakes. And now it's used for pictures of people's asses, right? The problem the real problem for me with all the Instagram stuff is young girls look at this and they think value equates to likes or value equates to attention, right? And the attention you're getting is purely
attention you want.
If you listen to what I said earlier, we do not see these influencers as people. No. Do you want to post?
They're a brand.
They're a brand.
Yeah.
It's a fucking billboard. That's all it is. And like, And so do you want your value to come from the attention of people looking at you as a fucking object?
Yeah.
And like, and I know it's stupid for me to say this, because agreed, people can do whatever they want. If they want to post a photo like that, really enjoy it. But like I said about the guy earlier, do it for a reason, for yourself, not for other people, man. Like,
totally. Like, I completely support women who do dress barely wearing anything. If they do that,
they're
and
confident, man.
they're confident, that makes them feel good. That's when they're, like, quotes, living their best life, and they should be able to celebrate their
summer.
They should be able to celebrate their sexuality. And, like, for instance, you know, I can see the damaging effect of it. But for instance, I posted a photo recently of, like, my progress. Yeah. And for me, I understand why people might have an issue with that, but I'm posting that because I've worked bloody hard to look like that. And I'm not looking like that. I've not worked hard because I want to be thin and that's the patriarchal idea of what a woman is. I've got like that because I want to make my body healthier, and that's my driving factor in doing that. So you know, it's a really difficult topic, this one, to discuss, but I just think that if you're spending your life on Instagram looking at people's brands, their creation of, you know, part of their life that they want you to see, you've always just got to bear that in mind and make sure it's not negatively impacting you like it did me.
Yeah. I think people truly need to, like, go through their Instagram and have a fucking clear out. I did that not too long ago.
Do it quite
and like,
frequently.
You have to go through and just clear out the nonsense, because you will get sucked into these traps. And it's not a bad thing, like, in the sense of some people can really motivate you. So you can look at someone and think, like, I really would like people to stray away from, I want to look like them, but, like, their actions inspire me.
Yeah,
so
or they're sharing useful information on how they've got there.
Your progress picture, for example, like, the only people it would annoy, people that aren't pulling their finger out and doing the work, right? Your progress picture is not a, oh, look at me. It's a, look what I've done. And that is inspiring, because someone should look at that and go, that those actions gave that result.
And I didn't want to post it saying, look at me on the left, I look wrong in this photo when I'm bigger. That was not it at all. It was, this is a display of the work I've put in to make my body healthier. That's all that was.
Yeah. I think, like, you can bring the mic towards you, by the way.
Okay.
You don't have to, like, move your head. You can still sit comfortably. I think, so having decided and then losing some weight, right? And then, like, kind of overly analysing your body and kind of picking the faults within it.
Yeah.
We can all do that, by the way. But and that was the thing that decided to make you go and get breast implants?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So talk me through getting the breast implants. How was it? Like, what, like, not necessarily the operation, but, like, you went in, you got it done. How did you feel afterwards? Did it help? Like, did it help your self-esteem? Like,
so I'm a really spontaneous person, impulsive rather, I would say, and I don't really think about decisions maybe as long as I should do. And this is definitely one of them, because it literally, you know, the way it was so common, it did seem like you could just walk into a bloody salon and get them done, kind of thing. Obviously you couldn't, and you need a lot of money, but
how much did it cost?
$6,000
to get them put in.
Yeah, which I fortunately was able to pay with because I'd had a car crash and a payout. So you know, I don't just have all that money lying around. I felt really excited when I got them done. It felt, you know, exciting.
Did it feel empowering?
Yeah, I loved the shape it gave me. I felt more in proportion. And yeah, it was just a really exciting time, and I was so happy that I'd, you know, gotten through the surgery and the recovery, and that I felt more in proportion. So I, you know, aesthetically, I was still bottom heavy, but then I had the boobs to balance it out, and I had a slimmer waist, and it's annoying because now looking back on hindsight, the excitement around how good I looked, it wasn't for me. It was purely because of my insecurities of how I'd been made to feel by men, unfortunately. So I felt really, really good initially after them, but it wasn't long until things started going downhill.
Right, okay. That. So talk us through what started to happen, and, like, what was, when you say downhill, what was the thing that started to happen?
So I would say within a couple of weeks of the surgery, or as I came off of the painkillers from the surgery, I started to have chronic back pain and spasming in my back.
And that's not just because it ache, because you're now top heavy.
No, so yeah, that annoyed me because a lot of people thought, oh, is it because they're now heavy and you got to carry them around? Completely not. It was trauma from the surgery,
right?
And it was just like when you get cramp in your calf, or for instance, it was like that constantly in my back. Didn't matter what position I was in, I constantly had that. It was agonizing. And I ended up having to be prescribed to go on amitriptyline, which is a antidepressant, but also it numbs the nerves in your body, so it can act as a painkiller. And I was on that for 18 months. And obviously, I pay for my prescription, so that was an additional cost that I didn't foresee. So that was initially what happened. But apart from that, on the amitriptyline, it controlled it. It was fine. And then I would say maybe at the year mark, I started to develop further symptoms of a phenomenon called breast implant illness, which is not widely known about because there's no scientific evidence that it categorically exists.
Right. So they can't technically piece it together.
No.
They can't say that this is the direct cause of all of these symptoms.
Correct. Because some women suffer and some women don't.
Yeah. Because you hear people get breast implants all the time and they're fine.
Yes. However, I wonder if they are actually fine because there are so many symptoms that are connected with it that you wouldn't even think. For instance, tinnitus, so constant ear ringing in your ears. You wouldn't necessarily think that that's linked. So you might have women out there who've got breast implants and who've got tinnitus. Yeah. That's linked. And if they got their implants out, the tinnitus would go.
So is there been something in the news recently about breast implants? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So
is that the silicone grade stuff? The industrial grade silicone?
Yeah, correct. So recently, years back, there was a French company, shortened to PIP, and they developed silicone implants, but they used industrial grade silicone in the implants, which then, when put into thousands of women, caused them to have all of these deteriorating symptoms that wreaked havoc in their body and made them all incredibly ill. And recently in they've been working for years on a class action suit to try and get the money back. It's not just money. They've lost years of their life from fatigue and all of these symptoms. Yeah, exactly. And anyway,
and the hassle of because if you have silicone grade ones, I suppose they all had to get removed.
They ought to have to get removed, but also the silicone will work its way around your body, and silicone cannot be removed from your body.
Right.
It can't be detoxed out, really. It's once it's there, and so you could constantly they could be experiencing those symptoms for the rest of their lives. Yeah. So recently there was a court case where they actually won the compensation, which was fabulous. My breast implants weren't these PIP ones. However, all breast implants will make you ill because they have toxins, heavy metals, and silicone in them that will make its way around your body. So, for instance, they say
it's all safe, don't they? They're it's all safe.
Yeah. They say that the silicone can't come out of the skin of it or whatever they call it. So basically, when I went in to get the breast implants, I can't remember being told about breast implant illness, but if I would have been told there's no credibility in it. Some women have said that they experience symptoms, but there's no scientific evidence that it exists. And, I quite believe in science, and I just thought, oh, it'd be fine then, kind of thing. And I think that's the issue.
You trust people, you trust people who know more.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. So, basically, they did biopsies of women who had silicone implants, not the PIP ones, just regular implants that hadn't burst, they hadn't ruptured, they weren't leaking, they were completely intact, and they still found traces of silicone in their body and in the tissue surrounding the implant. So that goes to show that you don't need your breast implant to rupture for all of that poison to make its way around your body. And, you know, being a foreign subject, your body then starts to fight itself and you'll develop a load of autoimmune diseases. So should I just list
all
of
off.
the symptoms?
Because I think like if you're there thinking about having them, obviously like you can take this conversation into consideration and maybe do your own more research on it and things like that. We'll give a couple of different Facebook groups that I know you're a part of to like who are surrounded by women who have gone through similar things. But if you're someone who has breast implants and you're dealing with any of these symptoms, like have a real think about what's going on and try not to just put it down to stress, try not to put it down to other things like.
Well, that's the that's so easy to do. I mean, and also, so it wasn't until January of this year. So I got the implants in February 2019.
Yeah.
And in January of this year, 2021, I joined a Facebook group called UK Breast Implant Illness and Healing. And there's an American one, and actually there's several across the globe, and there are hundreds of thousands of women who are all suffering with the same symptoms, who all have implants, who, when they get their implants removed, the symptoms go. So, you know, there's no scientific proven link, but there's hundreds of thousands of women who are going through this every single day. And it wasn't until I joined that group that I realized, oh my God, all of these symptoms that I'd been going through are linked to breast implants that I hadn't realized before. So yeah, there definitely could be people out there who are listening to this who have implants and don't realize the joint pain that they've been going through is because of their implants, for instance. So anyway, so I was very unlucky because quite often a lot of women will not find that they suffer with symptoms for years. I only had my implants for 1 year before I started suffering. So obviously it started with that chronic back pain. I also had vertigo attacks, panic attacks, severe anxiety and heart palpitations. I had eczema that I'd never had before, and it just spread across my whole body and on my breasts. I had fungal infections constantly all over my skin, all over my breasts, all over my feet. And I'd have weeks of pills that, you know, are antifungal pills and whatever. And it just did nothing. I had blood tests to check that my liver function were normal. Everything came back fine. You know, I was say my body was operating normally. My body stopped producing natural oils, so I couldn't retain any moisture. So I was scaly, basically. My skin was constantly dry and tight and painful. I was itchy all over, like I had things crawling over me. Every single day I felt as if I was like hungover or tired or ill, or like that feeling like, oh, I think I might be coming down with something, but then nothing ever happened. I had thrush.
What made you like decide to look down this route?
So I watched RuPaul's Drag Race, and one of the judges on there, Michelle Visage, I followed her on Instagram, and she had breast implants, and they were quite a feature of her. And then she had to get them removed because they were making her ill, and she started spreading information about breast implant illness.
Jesus. Okay.
So I was like, oh, and I was in denial for about a year after reading about it. Yeah. I would say I was in denial for a while because although I read about that, I hadn't read about all the symptoms. So I just read that it existed and that it can cause this, this, and this. But I kind of was in denial that I won't have that. That won't, you know. And it wasn't until earlier this year that everything just got 10 times worse. And I was like, I knew that there were these Facebook communities, and I joined them. I'd thrush for 12 months that wouldn't leave my body despite, you know, all of the different treatments for it. Joint pain, I couldn't stand for longer than 5 hours. Fatigue, tinnitus in my ears. I developed Raynaud's, which is when your blood flow doesn't go to your extremities, so your hands, your fingers, your toes will go white where the blood doesn't go, and then the blood will suddenly flow, and then it'll be very red and very hot and painful. And then I developed chilblains as a result of that. I had inflammation, cuts and bruises didn't really heal on me, brain fog, memory loss, just total intolerance for hot and cold. So a lot of things, basically. Yeah. And I would say before that, I was a really healthy person in the sense that I never went to the doctors.
And you were never had I
never had anything wrong with me, rarely go to the doctors, and I was on lots of different types of medication all the time, constantly at the doctors. And I just thought, this isn't right.
Yeah.
I was 27 and, my hands, because they were so dry, I looked like I had 85-year-old hands, and like I felt knackered all the time. And I just thought, this isn't right.
So then you decided then, like, right, I got to get these out.
Yeah, so I joined the Facebook group, spoke to a lot of women, listed my symptoms, and incredibly supportive. These groups are amazing, and if you have breast implants, I would, or if you're thinking of getting them, I would highly recommend you join them on Facebook. If you just type in breast implant illness, they'll come up, and you can read everyone's stories on there. I mean, people suffer worse than I did. People lose all of their hair. Yeah. I know people have had to have their beds moved downstairs because they can't even climb stairs anymore with the joint pain. I was actually very lucky in a sense that it wasn't worse than it was. I know people have had to have their wombs removed because it's, it's given them fibromyalgia, and it's just endless
I think
issues.
This is the thing that people kind of, I guess people just forget, is that there's a lot of, like, the reason they can't directly say it's because of that is because there are so many moving parts.
Yes.
So it's really hard to say, like, well, this because of this one thing. Like, this doesn't happen in a lab. This is real life, unfortunately. So, like, if you are, because some people will just listen and just go, nonsense, that's not going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I get that, but really, like, and I'm not saying to not go ahead with it. You can even just equip yourself with all of the information, I suppose. And I guess that's, like, when it comes to politics and things like that, people need to learn what they're voting for. You need to learn what you're about to put in your body. Like, you really do need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, and don't listen to the surgeons, because a lot of surgeons and a lot of doctors discredit it.
Well, they're just trying to sell you something, man.
They're trying to sell you something, and they know that you'll be back in 5 years to pay them more to get them out.
Right.
I mean, I've paid 10 grand all in all for to have them in, to have them out, for all the medication in between. And if they don't need to tell you, because there is no link,
well, that's
definitive
the thing.
link, they're not going to, are they?
Not at all.
And, the warranty is watertight. So, I can't, unless in years to come they find that my implants were specifically dangerous and they get recalled, I'm not going to get compensated for the money that I spent on them. So yeah, I would highly recommend to go on and just read through people's stories and find out, because, and as we were saying earlier, it's very easy, especially with women, to say, your symptoms are, is it your time of the month? Have you changed your contraception?
Because there's so many moving parts. Like, and I get that. Like, I really do get that. And I think it's really difficult to put it down to something. But for you now, having them removed, like, how do you feel? Do you feel better?
Yeah. So pretty much instantly. I mean, I took a before and after photo before surgery and a few hours after, and the glow on me is ridiculous. And it's very scary coming up to explant surgery. So they call it explant surgery when you have your implants removed. It's very scary because all of a sudden you start doubting everything, and you start thinking, oh my God, is it the implants? Am I, have I got tinnitus because I went to a concert when I was 14? Like, and the other women are posting in the community saying, the healer's real, and I'm better, and I had this miraculous recovery. And you just think, what if that doesn't happen to me? And pretty much instantly, all of my symptoms vanished. Yeah. They do occasionally come back, but that is because the silicone that has been lodged deep in my body and the toxins, I'm detoxing them out. Yeah. So when I'm detoxing them, it causes occasional flare-ups. But it just means that instead of having those symptoms 24/7 now, I might have them for a couple of days once a month. Yeah. They'll come all back and then they'll go again. And that's why, so going back to goals of fitness and stuff like that, my current goal around my nutrition plan, around my fitness, is to help with my detoxification of the heavy metals and the toxins that are in my body from breast implants. And what I will say is, it's been a very expensive lesson to love yourself as you are, because I'm so frustrated that my body was absolutely fine before I had implants, and then I feel I mean, that's the thing as well. This whole process, not just the physical side of things, the emotional side of things is massive. You feel incredibly emotional that you've put your body through this, that you felt pressured to get them in the first place. You feel scared about the surgery. You feel anxious of what am I going to look like after they're gone? I've done this to make myself look better, feel better, and I got the opposite effect.
And people think, like, people go, oh, but like, because I know people will be thinking, well, no one forced you to get them done.
Yeah.
And like my response to that is there is so many things that we are insecure about. They even, like, some people don't believe there is such a thing as free will, because we are influenced by so many moving parts, nature, nurture, everything, like our environment. Like we are, if they say you're the collection of the 5 people you spend your most time around, do you know what I mean? Like, and you are constantly taking in all of this information from Instagram, from your friends, from like seeing like the kind of, I guess, sexualization of women and things like that. And like, I mean, it's if anything, when you say like women are seen as like an object, or like are really seen kind of for their looks and for their body, that's where their value comes from. Like, I mean, porn is probably one of the only industries that women get paid more than men. Do you know what I mean? And that is for a reason. It's because it's that like sexualization of women. So like when people go, oh, you didn't get forced to put them in, it's like, no, but like we don't get to choose our insecurities, unfortunately. And
No,
if you're not wildly
society.
aware
Yeah.
of them, and you're not wildly aware, the thing is, like, you could be aware and you are aware, but you're like, well, there's something that I can do about it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Because you don't know that there's this information out there.
Exactly. So what I would say is, like, I'm sure that there'll be people out there listening going, stupid woman who wanted to look fit and paid to be plastic, and all she needed to do was a bit of research, blah blah blah. But I am a product of the society that I live in, the product of the insecurities that are driven down my throat from the world that we live in. And unfortunately, I'm not strong enough, as most of us aren't, to resist all of the subconscious, what is the paradigm of beauty for a woman. And also,
it's so subjective as well.
Exactly. And as we said, I trusted in the experts to tell me before they cut me open what is going in me and what could be the potential side effects. And okay, if I joined these Facebook groups that I didn't even know existed, and if you're going to get breast implants, you're not going to naturally Google breast implant illness. You don't know it's a thing. No. You just don't.
And I think it's really difficult, because the society we're in at the moment is driving people to do more and more crazy things to change their bodies and to look a certain way. And this is the most probably it's an extremely expensive lesson to learn to love yourself.
Yeah.
And I think like that saying is really difficult for me, because it's like, what the fuck does that mean? How do I learn to love myself? And you don't look at yourself in the mirror every day and go, I'm this smoking hot thing. But
it's not about aesthetics. It's about everything. It's about the whole package.
The whole package. And like really start to like understand that no, you can't change these certain things about your body, but you can do other things to help improve how you feel. And like come to terms with, okay, like, yeah, I've got these, I could do with having bigger boobs or whatever, but it's like, but who there are women out there getting like breast reductions. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have people on both sides of these scales who want to change their body to like really, and like part of me says like, all for it, empower yourself, do whatever you want. Just understand that there's all this information that you really need to take into consideration. Like, same when it goes to steroids, like people that say, should I take steroids? Like, you have no idea the long-term effects on your testosterone. Like, most men in their 40s and over should probably be on testosterone replacement therapy, because it will make you live longer. It makes you feel better. Like, but you are going to have to be that on that for the rest of your life, without a doubt, if you take testosterone. And that's the thing, is everyone's starting to, we have the ability as humans to think about the future. Like, when my dog wants to eat, like Riker said this on his podcast the other day, he's going to eat. That's all he's thinking about right then and there. We have the ability to make sacrifices now for the future, but a lot of times we get caught up with if I get these breast implants, I'm going to feel so much better, which is going to improve my future.
Yeah, and what I would say is, if you're somebody who's listening and thinking, the only thing that's going to make me feel better is if I've got bigger boobs and nothing else will do, I think you need to think, well, why? Why is that? Why is not excelling in your career or being the best mum or like just being happy or whatever? Why is breast implants gonna change you that much? And secondly, part of my reason was I got them to feel sexy. Well, I'm telling you now, you're not going to feel sexy when you're riddled with a fungal infection and eczema all over your body. You're just not. And you're itching all over and it's driving you crazy and you can't sleep at night because of it. That you're not going to feel sexy. You're going to feel the opposite, and it's going to make you feel skint. You'll have no money. You'll be very emotional because the one thing that you wanted has turned out to be a disaster. And now you're stuck with them in your body and looking at potentially £3,000-4,000 more to get them out again, just so you feel healthy again and that you've got the energy to walk upstairs. And you might be lucky and that might not happen to you, because it doesn't happen to all women. It doesn't. And I'm telling you now, it doesn't matter what. Please don't listen to surgeons that say, oh, I'm going to give you mentor implants, textured implants. If we do it under the muscle, you won't suffer. If it's this type of implant, these are the Rolls Royce of implants, because that's what I was told. I was told I was getting the best of the best. Yeah. And the issues with the PIP implants and not with mine. It doesn't matter. You put a foreign substance into your body's going to fight it. I think there's a documentary on Netflix called The Bleeding Edge, and it's about a woman who gets a hip replacement. And same with her body starts to fight
rejects
the foreign substance in her body, and it makes you ill. So it's just, please inform yourself, like I didn't. I think with the PIP implants in the news at the moment, there is a kind of, people are listening more, and this is because there's a growing awareness around breast implant illness, which is fabulous. Because and I feel really sorry for the women who have had double mastectomies after breast cancer, because they've gone through the cancer and then they've got implants and then they've gone through all of this, and and that's when I say I'm the lucky one again. And
that's the thing. Like, again, you may not be one of these people, but you also could be. And it could also cost you a lot more than just money. It could cost you, like you say, your time, your mental state and things like that.
Yeah, and I will just say, I don't know who's listening, but you are beautiful and perfect as you are. You are worth so much more than how you look and how men perceive you. And even if you're saying, oh, it's not for men, it's for yourself, where does that ideal come from?
The problem is, like, and like, I think we'll probably finish on this, is that we are always in a competition to reproduce. Basically, we're always in a competition to basically continue this species, right? As humans, we're in a competition to like attract the mate and to do these things. And unfortunately, like, the modern society we're in pushes more value on looks because of Instagram and things like that, or at least that's what it seems. That makes it a really difficult one when people go, but like, if I get breast implants, I'll look better, so I'll be more desirable for the opposite sex and I can get what I want. But it's like, and like, same with training. Like, I come to train, when I first started training, it was because I want to look better to attract more people. And it is.
Yeah, and it's not even attract other women. It's literally being attractive is a currency that you can pull and use, whether it's getting a job, whether it's getting
a free drink in a bar.
Yeah, for, there's a wide end of the spectrum. People just being attracted to you as a person. Yeah. It's a sad fact of our society, but that's the way it is.
And that's why I think, like, the influencer bubble is going to collapse also. It's just like,
I hope so.
we put a lot of value on things other than happiness, and happiness needs to be the majority thing. Being self-aware enough to question your intentions is a very good thing. And like I said previously, what is the highest goal, and what do you want from this outcome? And like, not just on your breast implants, but for your life, because you can work back from that and you can set yourself goals and targets and have little wins in the journey to achieving that higher purpose and that higher goal. And like, no, not everyone has a purpose, but you can create a goal because you're looking forward in the life that you want. I think Jordan Peterson's got like I think he calls it a self-authoring program, basically. I'm planning on doing it, and I really advise you doing it, because it gives you this perspective of, right, where could my life go if I did everything right? Where could my life go if I went completely wrong way? And it gives you a good direction to head in, because you are aimless if you don't have a purpose and a goal. And you start to focus on things that don't matter, i.e. how we look, i.e. things like that.
Yeah, and I think, some people might think, well, to be the best I am, to feel the best I could, I need to look this way. And you really need to unpick that mentality. Why is that your goal?
100%. So is there any takeaways? Is there anything you want people to think about before we leave?
No, not really. Just don't put value in looking a certain way. If you want to feel good about yourself, then that's absolutely fine. But and I don't judge women for having plastic surgery. Just be aware of the risks if you're going to go that way, and really think about why you're doing it and who it's there to serve. Are you serving yourself, or are you doing it for others?
And like, a lot of people will do it for themselves, and like you say, people who have breast cancer, things like that. So like, and the whole purpose of this is just to give you a lot of information that maybe we haven't seen in mainstream media. So start to realize that there is such a thing as breast implant illness, and that can affect you in your life. So hopefully you've got something good out of this conversation. I mean, thank you for coming on, Lucy.
That's okay. Thanks for having me.
No, it was a good conversation. I think like there are a lot of young women who are easily influenced out there, and there are a lot of young women who are thinking about this. And again, like just really understand your reasons why and your motivations. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Real Coaching Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. It was something completely different, and obviously it's the first of our guests on this podcast. We're going to start going out and like interviewing a few people and like talking of different topics, because I guess the main part of today was just to get you to realize that like there is a lot of ways we can change our body. We can do things which are positively impacting us by like going to the gym, working out, eating healthier, but like all doing it in the pursuit of health and happiness. And like, if you're going to go out there and do things kind of for your aesthetics, but actually at a detriment to your health, then like you're missing the main point of health and fitness. Like, it is purely to make you feel better. And like, if you do chase health, like results will come in the way you look as well. So try not to look at them as like mutually exclusive. Like, they are one and the same thing, but chasing health's always the top priority. But thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on the next one. This has been Real Coaching Radio.